My name is Annette Walters, and I'm the loving mother of Mitchell Chase Jones, which we call Chase. Unfortunately, Chase couldn't be here today because he passed away 2 years ago, February 6, 2010, from an accidental heroin overdose. Growing up, Chase was such a great child. He was very well-behaved, polite, and respectful to everyone. He loved sports, had a very outgoing personality, and lots of friends. He would brighten any room he would walk into with a smile. Chase played 8th grade football for River Trail Middle School, and he played his freshman year football at Northview High School. In 2004, he was number 34 and played on the defense team. I was very proud of my son. Life began to take a turn for Chase when he was tempted at the age of 14 by friends to just try some marijuana. At first, Chase refused because he knew it was wrong and illegal, and he was taught not to do drugs. But after a while, with his friends continuing to influence him and say, "Come on, just try it one more time. You know, it feels good, it's fun, try it," he finally succumbed and he tried it. Then he began smoking marijuana and swore that he would never do any other drugs. He would say to me, "Marijuana is not a drug. Drugs are like coke, meth, heroin, and those are real drugs." And he said he would never do any of those drugs. I would tell Chase marijuana is the gateway drug, and it is unacceptable for you to smoke. And if you continue smoking, you will eventually start experimenting with other drugs. He swore he never would. At the age of 15, I sent Chase away to Auburn, Alabama to live with his grandparents for 6 months to help him get back on the right path of life and away from the influence of his friends. He did very well, and I brought him back home. By the time Chase turned 16, he was hanging out again with his friends that did drugs and began experiencing with other drugs. Pills, Xanax, painkillers, ecstasy, and Oxycontin. His behavior began to change. He became very disrespectful, not obeying rules, etc. He became a person I no longer knew as my son. I was no longer dealing with my son Chase. I was dealing with a drug. Eventually, he had to withdraw from Northview High School at the age of 16 because of drugs and skipping school. He ended up graduating from Faith Academy. By the time Chase was 18 years old, I had to kick him out of my home because I knew he was using drugs, even though he would tell me he wasn't, and it was unacceptable. He was disrespecting me, the rules, and just doing the drugs. And mainly Oxycontin. He kind of started doing that, you know, which I know all y'all know. Oxycontin it's a big drug that's going around, and it's nothing but legalized heroin in a pill. It's all it is. Then one day, a friend introduced Chase to heroin. Chase began snorting heroin for about 6 months. Then he began shooting up heroin. I watched his life fall apart. At the age of 18, his father and I found out that our son was shooting up heroin. It's devastating to a parent. It was in December 2007 when we found this out. He was 1 month from turning 19, he was 18. When his father and I confronted Chase and told him that we knew, he immediately said, "I need help. I do need help." So Chase agreed that he needed help and his life was out of control. The drug was controlling his life. He went into detox and we got him into rehab up in South Carolina. For the next 3 years, Chase battled the stronghold and disease of addiction. I can promise you, Chase, when he smoked that first joint, he never said, "I'm going to smoke this and screw my life up and become an addict and hurt everybody I love." Of course, nobody thinks that. He went, the the next 3 years, Chase battled the stronghold and disease of addiction. He went to rehab 3 times, in and out. He would do well for a while and be sober, and those were great times. I had my loving Chase back. When he was sober, he was the son I bore. And then he would slip and relapse, and it'd be back dealing with the drug, not my son anymore. By the age of almost 20 years old, his life spiraled out of control with his substance abuse. He was up to $100 to $200 a day heroin addiction habit. He was working a landscape job, but that was not enough to pay for his dope. So he began stealing to support his addiction. On January 1st, New Year's Day, 2009, Chase was pulled over for a traffic violation. They searched his car and found stolen property from where cars he had broken into, from several different counties, Forsyth, Fulton. Chase was arrested and served 8 months in jail and was released September 2nd, 2009. When Chase was released, he had a permanent felony record of 16 felonies, 16 felonies, and 5 years probation that would follow him the rest of his life. Consequences for bad choice, bad decisions. Even though he's changing his life or wanted to change his life, the consequences will follow you for life. When Chase was released from jail, he was determined never to do drugs again. I believed him. I knew this was it. He was done. He learned his lesson. He had every intention and his heart's desire not to go back down those dark roads because he didn't like the person he became. Chase even had a cross tattooed on his back. Had a cross, and above the cross, he put God's chosen. He said he loved God very much, and he knew he needed God because he was battling the stronghold and the demon inside of him. Unfortunately, 1 month after being released from jail, he slipped and did heroin again. The disease told his brain and body that it wanted more of the drug. The next month, in December, we got Chase back into halfway house rehab in Georgia. For the next 2 months, Chase was sober. His life was back on track. He got a full-time job with benefits. He was working out every day, going to church every Sunday, and he was happy with life again. Life was great. I had my son back. Life was back to normal for us. We had our Chase, the loving, caring, hardworking man that he was. Then he called a friend up one day and told his friend he just wanted to use heroin one more time because he was switching in between rehab programs. And before he started the new program, he just wanted to use heroin once more. That's it. So his friend hooked him up with a drug dealer. See, Chase always thought, too, overdose, that'll never happen to me. That only happens to other people. I'm too smart for that. Chase was alone when he shot up heroin that day. Chase accidentally overdosed, and no one was around to save my son, and he died. And he wasn't found until a day and a half later. Chase made a very bad choice that day. He thought, I just want to use one more time. You see, Chase thought he could get away with it. Just one more time and everything will be all right. Well, it wasn't all right. I think the message is loud and clear. Drugs destroy your life, and they kill. No one ever tries drugs for the first time and says, hey, I think I want to try this drug or alcohol and become an addict and destroy my life and destroy everyone I love and all my friends. Chase never thought it would happen to him either. He would say that only happens to other people. If you use drugs, you could be the very next statistics. One thing is for certain with drugs,